Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to offer you some Akashic Records guidance and messages. And if you're new to my channel, I'm Anika Ray. I'm an Akashic Records certified professional consultant, practitioner, reader, and also instructor. I have been working in the records for the past now over 13 years, since 2012. And I really love this work, partially is because if you're not familiar with the records, they are this giant library of the soul. They contain all the inside spiritual guidance information, but also healing around our soul journey and all the souls really. And they are very helpful in our spiritual growth, awakening, purposes, healing, you name it. There's a lot that is beneficial to working in this spiritual resource. And I'm already full transparency in my records. And because this is essentially the connection soul to soul, like we're all connected in consciousness, that's why this reading may resonate with you. Just keep in mind, this is spiritual guidance, is not predictiveness. That's not what the records deals with. And so take what resonates and leave the rest. And today we're really turning to some questions because we work the best in the records when it comes to having questions, open-ended questions, and the theme that I was really guided to specifically because it's the beginning of the year is this trust, flow, and surrender, like some of these spiritual topics and themes that we're going to be exploring. But first, before I jump into these questions, I just wanted to acknowledge the general message that is coming through the records. And again, this is about really being on that right path. A lot of these energies of uncertainty, this energy of uncertainty is not only the energy that you may feel or sense or even see in today's matrix or reality on the planet, where everything seems very uncertain, unstable. This is that energy, a lot of times like that Martian energy as well, right? Like that mixture of the Mars energy and infusion of that aggressiveness of up and down. And so one of the messages is coming from the records is to hang in there, really hang in there. Know that you're on the right path, that you have a lot of guidance around you, guides around you, that you can ask for help. And essentially, if you can really stay grounded and grounded by a means of really what keeps you at peace, what keeps you in the space of peace and serenity for yourself. Mental health is being brought into the forefront, really keeping yourself mentally sound. I heard recently from, just to throw in this, from a personal experience from another coach online, to keep your mind temple clean, which is really cool. And so that's what they're bringing up in the records, is to, in this energy of chaos, instability, uncertainty, to keep your mind and your energy grounded, really what brings that peace to you. Now we're going to start with these questions. If you hear me with the paper, that's because I actually have these questions written down. And these questions are based on what I would ask in the records, but also what some of my clients throughout the years ask. And this topic is important because in this space where, as the records are mentioning, really this instability, uncertainty, what's going on in the planet, it's important to stay grounded. And one of the most important things is trusting, going with the flow, and surrendering. So question number one is going to be, what does my soul, and I mean all of our, because this is a collective reading, want me to trust most at this point in my life? And the first thing that I'm getting is, for a lot of us, this trust is actually have been a very contentious thing. It is trusting first yourself. That's the most important thing that soul wants you to know is, how do I trust myself in circumstances, situations, and around other people? Trust comes from the beliefs, and these beliefs are really beliefs about self, the environment. A lot of them can come from, as we know, childhood, past lives, the environment, right, that we grew up in, and, ancestral patterns. But this is really bringing into your own discernment, your own trust within self. When you can trust yourself, and whether this is leaning into the records are saying your own intuition, higher self, your guides, when you can trust that inner spiritual authority, that's what the soul wants you to trust most at this point. Not to say that you can't trust other spiritual authorities or people, but you have to really bring it to self and see if what you're getting actually makes sense. So lean into trust within yourself and facilitate that trust through either leaning into your higher self, intuition, or whatever it is that you consider like your trust meter, they're calling it. Number 2 is, where am I being guided or pointed to trust myself more deeply? So it kind of ties into this first question. How can you really trust yourself more deeply? Is there anything else there that we can touch that we didn't in this first question? And again, trust comes from this element of how much you actually appreciate and understand yourself in when it comes to your connection to the universe and divine. When you can really lean into, right, like that connection to the divine, that trust meter that comes from the divine, it becomes slightly easier, because a lot of times, right, the thoughts, the patterns, the things that we experience from childhood, other lifetimes, ancestrally, can interfere with you trusting yourself. So again, they're bringing you to that grounded state where you can spend some time within yourself, and it's pointing you to a deeper connection to the divine. A lot of times they're saying channeling your higher self can help. Whatever that connection, the bridge to divine, for a lot of you, it is the validation through prayer. It is for you to tap into higher realms for validation, but it is about building trust to self. And for some of you, it can come easier than the others, right? Like when you really trust that innermost self, that intuition, that connection to the divine within, however it is that comes to you, that starts to really reflect in trusting yourself as a human, because the human gets informed through these other elements or aspects of self that are connected to the divine. So really lean into your connection to the divine. That's where it's pointing you to really develop that trust in self, lean into that connection, and that connection can look differently. Again, this is not to repeat myself, but it ties into that question number 1. Number 3, what past experiences are influencing my ability now to trust others? Because now we talked about trusting yourself. Now we're going to lean into trusting others. So again, it's going to lead me back to self, right? So it's not so much, obviously past experiences can influence you. But when you've developed a trust in yourself, the energy also will communicate whether you are to open your heart to other people, because trust implies opening your heart and yourself and being vulnerable with other people. The energy and your intuition, but specifically they're telling me the energy itself will communicate whether you can safely open your heart to others. Now, also for some of you, this draws from some experiences from childhood where you had some mistrust happen within your immediate environment, like your parents, your father, mother. Some of you may have been adopted. Maybe you have spent time with people that feel like your family. There were some betrayals, and for some of you, these betrayals felt, and there were violations. I'm not going to go too deep because this collective reading can touch on many people in the spiritual seeker community. But just to know they're sending you lots of love and light, and they know some of these past experiences. And I can tell you for myself, my father was absent from my life because he was mentally ill most of the time. It's not like he was not physically there, but even physically, he was not there. My parents were divorced. So I had these experiences of absentee father, and that prevented me a lot of times from trusting people, or I opened my heart too fast and I attracted people that betrayed me. So I had these abandonment, right, patterns that show up so that I can heal them. But the whole point is not to lean into the past experiences for the sort of like that default, oh, you know, this is just what I do, right? From my past life experiences, I'm guarded or closed off. Even experiences that maybe you've had in recent past. So allowing your heart to open based on the energy, the intuition, but also not allowing, they're saying, for past life experiences or even past experiences from this lifetime to define you. Use them as a learning lessons opposed to something that is right detrimental and that can really kind of put you in a hermit mode where you are guarding yourself. There's something about being guarded opposed to being cautious and being sort of like on caution, right? Like sort of being like discerning whether this person is, you know, you should trust. And also don't discard the human element, right? Trust that's built over time. The records are aware of that. Even if you open your heart, you got to really see how this person is. Specifically to those of you in romantic relationships, there's this misconception of he's my soulmate because I feel it energetically. And the records want to say to that, which we'll probably do another collective reading in depth, but they want to say that you need to have some evidence as a human as well, whether this is a romantic or non-romantic relationship, as to whether this relationship fits you or it doesn't on a human level. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. We're going to move now into the questions about around surrendering. Surrender is a very popular word, especially when it comes to, right, like spiritual community, us that are in spiritual communities. We talk a lot about surrender. We're talking about like, you know, these questions. And so surrender, we're going to based on these 4 important questions that I find a lot of people really ask. The question number 4, and when it comes to surrender, is what am I holding on out of fear rather than alignment? So you're holding on to that from fear and not alignment. And now I know this is a lot of different situations. And so the records wants to point us into holding on not just fear, but also resistance and protection. So you're holding on to protection. And so this is that fear of being hurt for a lot of you, and boundaries. Some of your boundaries could be very, could have been in the past, even in this lifetime, very porous, meaning they were not clear. And perhaps you let some people in and you thought that they would be, and obviously they were good for your growth, but they hurt you as a human. For some of you, it's in the childhood. For some of you, it's even recent past. And for some of you, a lot of you, it is also drawing from past lives. So this protectiveness kicks in and it gets triggered when you reach people that are specifically people in situations that feel unsafe. So the first layer of protection, which is okay when you don't feel safe, it is completely okay in the records. The records are not suggesting you breaking your boundaries or not having any boundaries. It is about really knowing when strict boundaries are coming out of protection that really serves or protection that is out of fear and debilitating fear, right? So you're working on that. Some of you have worked on this, and the records are mentioning that this is a work in progress. But just to know when this protectiveness and boundaries serve you and when they are rigid and not allowing you to let anything in that could actually serve you at this point. One of the things that you can ask in that moment is this coming out of fear, or is it coming out of protection and safety that's needed? Okay. So very interesting and very good point. Number 5, how can I release attachment to outcomes and remain open, right? That's why we don't surrender. And so, first of all, it's very interesting because the records are bringing up not really even thinking of the outcome. There is a difference between holding on to the outcome because of the need to hold on to control and holding on to the outcome because of the vision that you have. There's nothing wrong with manifesting, having a vision, projecting that vision, and really guiding yourself based on that, but also embodying what we really want to see through emotions, through really you imagining yourself in these situations. There's nothing wrong with that. What we're really referring is that you want that outcome the way that you want it. And the records are bringing about specifically an example of that could serve a lot of us, right? When it comes to relationships, you want this particular person, or you want this person to act certain way, be certain way, look certain way. Meanwhile, the vision here is more about what can my life look like with this person, right? Lean into that spiritual vision, into spiritual qualities, and lean into yourself. Like, what can this outcome really bring me? More peace, more understanding, more love, more joy. Lean into the vision opposed to leaning into the outcome the way that it's supposed to be in your mind. A lot of these things are controlled by the mind and not the heart. So if you can lean into the vision opposed to the outcome, certainty again of the outcome. Number 6, what control patterns are ready to be softened or dissolved? We just mentioned control. What control patterns? And again, this is about predictability. How much you can actually predict things that are meant to happen to you. You know, this is a big thing for a lot of us. We are looking for predictiveness because of control and certainty, but the records are saying the predictiveness can sometimes really shield you from opportunities that are meant for you to explore. If somebody tells you or you sense that this is supposed to happen to you, I'm supposed to, you're supposed to, right? It shields you from being open to other opportunities. I can just give you, because they're prompting me, an example. I knew in the past that I was supposed to be I was supposed to have dogs, animals, because even when I went to a psychic reading, and I have a lot of psychic friends, shout out to my psychic intuitive friends. I'm one of them. I am a spiritual intuitive, but a lot of them do predictions. They do astrology. They're clairvoyant. That's not my thing. I usually do spiritual guidance. But not to digress, one of them picked up on me having dogs, and having a dog particularly that looked a certain way. Now listen, I didn't hold on to that. And for some reason, that dog did not come first. I actually ended up having 2 dogs. They have passed on now. They're in heaven. They passed on in the last year or so. But I had this Shih Tzu that came to me first. And it could have been because I was open to the idea. Was she more tied to my ex-partner? Yes. than myself, but still she taught me so much and I loved her so dearly. She reminded me a lot of myself when I was a kid. She was very stubborn and very, very set in her ways. She taught me a lot about boundaries, about her uniqueness. She hated wearing clothes, and I love clothes and dressing her up. She was a girl. But either way, that dog came first. And then the dog that the psychic, my friend psychic, really connected to, my Yorkie, darker, like tan and black. And I really did feel more connection spiritually to my Yorkie. It hit me really deep when she left and she had to cross on a rainbow bridge. But the Shih Tzu that I had that came in first was such a joy to me as well. So if I had held on, the point being, to just having this black and tan dog that was supposed to come into my life, then I would have missed an opportunity to connect to my beautiful Shih Tzu and to have this heart-to-heart connection, even if it meant that in her case, she opened me up to other opportunities. She was also sickly. I had to learn how to care for a sick, diabetic, blind dog for a long time. She really, really pushed me, stretched me, got me out of the comfort zone. I loved both of them so dearly. So that's why this is coming through in saying that sometimes this predictiveness can really stop us from opportunities. That doesn't mean stop listening to psychics that are really great, or channelers or spiritual intuitives, but it means like take it with a grain of salt. Keep yourself open to other opportunities. And finally, the guides are really saying to really lean into the guidance that's coming through if you need the validation on how to really release some of these control patterns. Number 7 is going to be about resistance. And now we're moving into the resistance piece and flow, right? We want to be with the flow. Sometimes that leads us into the resistance. Where am I resisting flow of life? So this is the question for the records when it comes to myself and other people. And again, they're bringing this comfort zone. If you listen to my channel, I hope you have listened to some of this guidance for 2026 when we kind of opened these spiritual themes. A lot of them were around letting go of control and getting out of the comfort zone. So the flow of life is, they're saying, it has a lot to do with the flow of energy. And so a lot of times maybe, and I'm guilty of that, you resist that flow of energy and you guide yourself back into the mind space. And now there's nothing wrong with, again, basing your mind is based on like past experiences. A lot of times, it kind of triggers you to go back into your safety and comfort zone. But this time the flow and energy really may guide you to and outside of comfort zone. It may guide you to go outside of your comfort zone into spaces, activities, people that are very unusual for you, that are very, very different from you as well. Things that you may have not really even thought you were going to do in this lifetime. I am perpetuating this because I'm actually in a few months going on a cruise, and I am only giving you this example because I am terrified of a cruise ship. I don't know if I assume I haven't seen this past life yet. I do know I was a sailor long time ago in like a 17th century. A possibility that I got drowned or had died of some sort of disease on a ship, or I watched Titanic too many times. I don't know, but I'm terrified. I'm also slightly claustrophobic. That I know comes from past lives and being imprisoned. But I am, guys, going on a cruise to see some of the Caribbean because I've always wanted to see it. And so I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone and see what that activity and that environment will bring me, and keeping my fingers crossed because I'm terrified still as a human. But that's what they're bringing about, getting outside of your comfort zone, flowing with the energy, allowing the energy to guide you outside of these comfort zones. Think of the activities, think of things that you're drawn to doing that are completely outside of your comfort zone, people that are totally different than you perhaps, although in some aspect, right? They don't have to be completely like not aligned with you, but just doing different things. Okay. Number 8, how can I create more spaciousness and receptivity in my life? And right away, they're going into that heart space and connecting the heart with the lower chakras. This is about creating space energetically first. Even if we're trying to receive something, we want to make sure that energetically there is space for us. Also letting go of things that are no longer serving us. I don't know why they're bringing about for some of us decluttering our spaces. There's a lot of old energy. They're also talking about old photographs. I don't know what you have on your phones, but kind of like decluttering, desanitizing, detoxing your space. Your spaces on your phone, your spaces in your mind as well, decluttering, detoxing, anything that is keeping you limiting and that can sort of symbolize spaciousness. For some of you, they're talking about throwing away old shoes. Guilty, I have to look through my closet and see. But it is about literally decluttering, desanitizing, detoxing, creating a space energetically and physically, feng shuiing your space, bringing in some different plants that have or symbolize minimalism. I don't know why that is specific to some people. Decluttering, again, space that is cluttered with clutter itself. Those of you that hoard things, if you do hoard, I do have that. I'm hoarding a lot of books. And I don't know how I'm going to get rid of those books. This sounds very daunting to me. But shoes, books, right? I am guilty of it. So let's create more spaciousness because you want to open yourself up to more receptivity and new things coming into your space. We only have a couple of more questions. Hang in there with me. Number 9, what daily practices will help me stay in flow this year? So anything right away, they're bringing me anything that flows. So anything that has the energy of fluidity. I'm seeing a lot of fluidity. When I say fluidity, they're mentioning motion. So anything that is moving energy. So breath is the first thing that they brought to my attention, which I need to really hear because I want to get back into my breath work. I love breath work. Shout out to the breath work facilitators out there. We need more of you because I love doing it in groups. But anything that moves energy, anything that moves your mind as well, stimulating mind to sort of be more in flow. A lot of times, the flow can mean also being or doing things by water, releasing that energy that's stale and old. But any movement that facilitates movement of energy, chi, they're calling it that. I'm not seeing anything specific other than, as I'm saying, breath work, doing something by the water, shifting in consciousness can be flow as well. Channeling, they're now bringing that up as well. That is the movement, but they're also bringing something that's more mild and more catered to your own needs where you feel the movement of energy. Could be yoga as well, movement of the body, right? Working out. Any movement like travel or anything like that could also be a spiritual practice, although it's a human practice of just moving. They want you to move. Dance as well in a human sense. Movement of energy. They want you to move the energy because for some of you, the energy has been very stale and it's not moving because you're not moving too. So walking, hiking, dancing, anything that has to do with movement, right? Yoga, Pilates, whatever it is that's moving the body, right? Like they're showing me for some of you skiing. If you're in the cold areas, skiing, right? Snowboarding, playfulness, movement, moving. Don't just resort to being hermit in your own space, but move. Final question, how can I recognize when I am in alignment versus when I'm forcing things to happen? Ooh, this is a juicy one. Again, how can I recognize when I'm in alignment versus forcing things? First thing they're bringing up is that this is genuinely something that feels natural, organic, or energetically good. When something is in alignment, whether it is an activity, being around people, you're just going to also feel naturally calm, centered, at peace, and pulled towards it. When something is forced, you're going to feel restless, you're not going to feel at peace, and you're going to feel it being pushed on you or pushed by you. There is this energy, the records are saying, of forcefulness as far as, this space. So lean back when you feel that. That's also an advice coming from the records. Take a deep breath, lean back. You can sense that the energy is being forced on you or by you. Like sometimes the assertiveness is needed, okay? And not to say we all have to be in the space of receptivity and never ever taking an action. No, sometimes the records are pointing out you take an action, but you take an action that serves you and serves others. It's called the appropriate action. But when you're forcing something, when you're walking through the door, it feels like you're walking through a wall. And so that's the time where you lean back into your energy, take a deep breath, lean back, and ask, what else action do I need to do? So like this is also, right, like the alignment is going to come from the actions, but it's going to come from appropriate action. It's also going to come from receptivity and energy. But I don't want you to think that the records are insinuating, again, not taking action or taking action all the time. There is this middle, right, where you're going to take appropriate action, take the next step, the action that serves you. Then you're going to see through that action whether the doors are right opening and whether you're really in alignment, because it's going to feel at peace, organic, and grounded, or you're forcing something which is going to feel forced by you or on you, okay? All right, so far, this is all that I've received from the records. I hope that this was helpful to you. I really appreciate you hanging with me, like hanging out with me, listening to this Akashic Records guidance. Take the questions, take what resonates, leave the rest. If you really like this video, if it resonates with you, please like it, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification button so you can be notified of videos that I post every week or every few days. That really depends. And share this with others that can really help them, because I'm all about community and all about spreading that love and light, which is where I'm going to leave you. If you are interested in getting some more personalized guidance from me, I do offer Akashic Records readings online and in person. The links for that will be in the description, as well as if you're listening to this and interested in learning more how to access and read your own records. I have free classes and webinars. I also have obviously classes that you can invest into yourself and learn how to do this with confidence and with the same method that I use. Thank you so very much. I will see you in the next video. Bye now.